like food or water. Well, people across the world fear this every day. So that is why I think we should locate and disarm US-made cluster munitions in Saudi Arabia and Yemen. This is relevant because to this day, armed munitions sit dormant in the ground, just waiting to take out an innocent civilian or innocent civilians. The information I will be using today is very credible as I utilize great sources like the Cluster Munition Convention, which is a part of the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs. They are a factual government website, making them a great and credible organization. In my speech today, I will first cover what munitions are. Next, I will cover the impacts of these bombs on villages. And last, why we should care. Some of the words in my speech aren't ones that you hear every day. I'm sure some of you know them, but just to lay them out there first, I use the word a humanitarian impact, which is just having the thoughts of humankind at heart, and then simply a munition, which is a military weapon that explodes when it hits the ground. I am sure some of you are asking what a submunition or a cluster munition is, and that can be explained by the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs. So I'll put up a picture before I read it. A cluster munition is a weapon consisting of a container or dispenser from which many submunitions or bomblets are scattered over wide areas. Many submunitions are unreliable and fail to explode, thus creating a potential humanitarian impact on civilians both during as well as long after the conflict ends. So this is a cluster munition. As you can see, it comes in a large shell casing that would be dropped off a plane, and it has these smaller submunitions inside that when the casing comes apart, these scatter over wide areas and they go into the ground, and once impact, they're supposed to explode, but we face the problem of the dud rate being so high with them that they hit the ground, they don't explode, and then when they're tampered with later, they explode on innocent civilians. The wartime issues would be if a submunition were to land in the wrong place, like a village, tragedy could strike. But after wartime problems aren't so obvious. These bombs have a large fail rate, which leaves behind ticking time bombs in the ground just waiting to be slightly altered so the bomb lid can explode and take over more civilian lives. For example, this is a 17-year-old girl named Rasha, and she lost her leg to a cluster munition because her family lives in Yemen, and when her father was going out to collect thyme to bring back for their family because they have to harvest their food, this is how they eat and they survive, this 17-year-old girl pulled the cluster munition from the bag, and she got scared, obviously, because it's this foreign object in your hand. She dropped it, and there goes her leg. So you can see a simple thing like that, and this is all just from these small cluster munitions that are in these large packs that are dropped down from planes. That shows how much of a danger they are and how devastating these munitions are. She was lucky to come out with only a missing leg, and this is because many don't even make it out alive. The sad truth is, they're small and shiny, and they can oftentimes be mistaken as toys to kids who don't know any better. So not only the problem of if you see it and you get scared of it and you drop it, but some people don't even recognize what it is. This is a picture of a cluster munition in the ground that's just been sitting there dormant that could explode at any time. As you can see, it is very easy to be mistaken for something not harmful or to be passed over completely. Moving on to my next topic, some of you, I'm sure, are asking why we should care. Sure, this isn't our country, but we are all human beings alike, and we are the ones who supply these horrendous weapons in the first place. Even after they were outlawed in many countries, so this visual aid for that. So if you see, the dark green states are the ones that ratified the act against cluster munitions and getting rid of them completely because they're a humanitarian impact. The light green is the signatories, and as you can see, we are right here in this gray, which hasn't even acknowledged it. If we focus on removing these deadly, unpredictable bombs, families in Saudi Arabia could be rid of the worry of death when performing basic needs. According to the Analysis of Global Military Affairs, munition expert Alex Hamill says, the United States have sold Saudi Arabia a large amount of cluster munitions. This is a problem because most countries have rejected this weapon due to the harm they cause civilians. Just to show how bad these bombs really are, I made just a small chart right here to kind of explain the dud rate to you. So in order for it to be a weapon used in the military, it has to go through testing and pass what they call a dud rate. And the legal dud rate is 2 to 5%. So that means that 2 to 5% of these bombs coming out of each large cluster munition have to, only 2 to 5% cannot go off. In actuality, 10 to 40% don't go off. So in a container with 200 bomblets, that's a lot of bombs that are just in the ground, laying dormant, ready to harm civilians and innocent people not even in the wartime effects. These weapons' fail rate is unlike any other weapon and cause lives to be shook and sometimes even taken as a whole. We should locate and disarm US-made cluster munitions and submunitions in Saudi Arabia and Yemen. This will allow civilians to meet their basic needs without the thought of death. They deserve the right to live just as much as anyone else. This is relevant because no human should live in constant fear because hundreds of weapons failed to do their job. These munitions are not only infecting the grounds, but they are also plaguing lives. In my speech today, I covered what munitions are, how they affect villages, why we should care. So thank you for listening to my speech. I hope you all enjoy the freedom of being able to do simple tasks on an everyday basis, because that is truly not the reality for everyone.